92.7 3 FM.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kazmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Government recalls retired nurses and midwives as Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association strike cripples healthcare services. Also coming up, Ghana confirms additional 34 cases of Mpox, bringing the national total to 79. And much later, former Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund CEO and board chair seek bail variation in $2 million SkyTrain's case. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, the government has with immediate effect recalled retired nurses and midwives in response to the ongoing strike by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, GRNMA. The strike, which began on the 4th of June 2025, was triggered by unpaid allowances and unmet demands, leading to a withdrawal of services from public health facilities and severely disrupting healthcare delivery. On Monday, the government, represented by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Finance, met with the striking health workers to discuss a roadmap for implementing their new conditions of service. At an emergency news conference, the Health Minister, Kwabena Minta-Kando, pleaded with the GRNMA to call off the strike while negotiations continue. Meanwhile, the government has also recalled retired nurses and midwives to assist with patient care, deeming the move necessary after the striking nurses withdrew all services on Monday. Now, the government also intends to publish a list of health facilities that are fully functional for access by patients. Let's listen to the health minister speaking earlier.
Government commits to continue to engage with the nurses in order to achieve a mutually acceptable outcome in the interest of the public. While working around the clock to resolve the impasse, the Ministry of Health has taken the following steps to mitigate the suffering of Ghanaian patients unduly affected by the strike. The ministry will, in the next few minutes, publish a comprehensive list of facilities to complement facilities where nursing services are lacking and where patients can seek health care. Given the urgency of the situation and suffering of the patients, government appeals to public-spirited retired nurses and midwives to volunteer their services for a brief period pending the resolution of the impasse. We further express our deep appreciation to practicing nurses who have opted to remain at post to help suffering patients and urge others to show similar fellow feeling and assist our ailing compatriots, even as efforts are made to address their concerns.
And you heard the Health Minister, Kwabena Minta-Kando. Well, Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Ampim says the demand by the health workers would impose additional burden in excess of 2 billion Ghana cedis in compensations.
From the Ministry of Finance, we want to show our commitment to help in resolving this important issue, because our nurses are very, very critical to healthcare delivery, and we appreciate what they do. But the reality is that we have over 120,000 nurses, and the implementation of the current condition of service that they are demanding will have serious consequences for the budget. In fact, if we fully implement it, we are going to add in excess of 2 billion cedis to the compensation budget. We have all committed that in our resolve to reset the of this country, we must maintain a 1.5% primary balance surplus every year in order to bring our debt levels to sustainable levels. And so it is important for us to manage expenditure.
And that was Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Ampim. Meanwhile, members of the GNRMA are expected to suspend their industrial action after court orders were served on the union leadership Monday afternoon. The NLC took the action to compel them to return to work. First Vice President of the association, Akologo Samuel, reacted to the service of court processes.
You were here when the Labour Commission bailiffs came to serve us court processes, an injunction to restrain us from whatever series of actions that we have deployed. It is okay. We will take it and then go back to whoever that our council does send us, and then we'll take it from there. We have to respect the law. We are not lawless people. We only see it to be what? Unfair, and that it will compromise future engagement when some of these meetings are called.
And you had the first Vice President of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, Akologo Samuel. Let's bring in Dr. David Tinkwan Chum. He's General Secretary of the Association. He joins us live via video call. Good afternoon to you, Doc. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Doc, what specific measures or assurances do you need from the government to suspend the strike?
The specific assurance, and as I indicated earlier on, the solution to this problem does not lie in press conferences. It actually lies on having constructive, purposeful engagement that seeks to resolve the problem without unnecessarily burdening the ordinary nurse or a midwife. We should not take any action that will go to the detriment of nurses and midwives. And I heard in your news that the first Vice President said they were served. My briefing does not, points to otherwise. What he sought to say, I don't know whether he made a mistake, but what he sought to say was that they were at the Ministry of Health when they saw the bailiff from Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. I said Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, from the Labour Commission. As far as we are concerned as leaders, the document was not served on them because they've not shown us anywhere. Immediately after they stepped out of the meeting, we held an emergency National Council meeting.
But you will agree with me that we will go with what he said on record, which is that they were served.
If you want to go back, that's fine. But as far as I'm concerned, and the briefing that I had from him, okay, I was here with the president, and the briefing that we had in the National Council meeting, that consists of 29 national executives throughout the whole country, he made it clear to us that they were not, and he didn't show any evidence of any document to us. Because if you have been served, it's not just a matter of somebody mentioning to you that you've been found contempt or whatever, or injunction has been served on you. If somebody serves you a process, they hand you a document. And he came to the secretariat with no document. In fact, they actually went to the secretariat expecting to be served, and they were there for 2 hours, and nobody came there. So I'm at sea as to what is being carried out there. But as far as we are concerned, the action is still ongoing.
The action is still ongoing. Doc, you said that there should be purposeful engagement. We've heard the government representatives, i.e. the finance and health, saying that, or actually appealing to you to suspend the strike whilst engagements are going. Do I get the understanding that so far you don't see the engagement going on as purposeful?
The proposal they tabled is inhumane. How can you table a proposal that seeks to defer payment of the condition of service 2026? Meanwhile, the document that we're dealing with has an expiration date, and it expires in May 2026. So what are they talking about? They should defer their ex gratia. That is where I'll know that they are here to sacrifice. Look, listen, we are all here. I always say that, look, let's work with this government. Let's help this new administration to succeed. There is an agenda must work. We need to collectively put our shoulders to the wheel. But we will not do this at the detriment of nurses and midwives? Why is it that when it comes to only nurses and midwives, we have to sacrifice and say that, oh, you choose your profession over money and all?
We had the Deputy Finance Minister saying that, Thomas Ampim, saying that if the government is to implement fully what you're asking for, that will be an additional 2 billion Ghana cedis on the budget. I'm sure you understand the financial situation the country is in.
I do understand amply the financial implications it will have, but we are not saying that we should implement everything at the same time. We can stagger the implementation. We are reasonable people, okay? We are educated people. We can indulge in intellectual discourse. What I'm saying is that we can stagger the payments. It's not everything. I'm even at sea as look, the demands don't go to everybody. I don't know how they are doing the calculations in the first place, all right? What we are asking doesn't go to everybody, okay? When it comes to the fuel, for instance, it goes to only principal nursing officers, the military officers, despite the fact that we worked very hard to bring it down to the last person. They refused. And it's not only a new item, it's already being paid. What we are asking for is just the difference that's resulted as a result of the negotiation.
I know you talk about staggering the payments, but in the meantime, are there any interim measures you would accept whilst negotiations continue?
Absolutely. Not negotiations, implementation, not in negotiations. I don't want us to interchange those words. They are not the same words. A negotiation is dusted, is done. We are not negotiating anything. We can talk about implementation plan, okay? What I'm trying to let you understand is that we are ready for them to stagger the implementation, but it must commence this year. It must commence this year. We cannot defer our implementation to next year. Why? Because the document expires next year. And that also deprives us of an opportunity or another window of opportunity to negotiate. We are supposed to negotiate every 2 years, and we are 1 year into the life of this document, okay? And I'm saying that if they want to defer the payment into next year, then it means that we are going to lose another window of negotiation. Mind you, there have been instances like that we were unable to negotiate each of the windows, and we are not going to allow that to happen. The last negotiation was 2024. It must be implemented before 2026. So that 2026, we can go for another negotiations. We are not going to defer anything to 2026. I'm saying that if they are minded and they love the country they want to project, they should defer their ex gratia payments.
Oh, ended here. Thank you very much. And that was Dr. David Tinkwang Chum, his General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, joining us live via video call. Let's get the real situation on the ground. Safwa Boahene has visited some hospitals in Accra and health facilities. She joins us live on the line. Safwa, where have you been? What can you tell us?
Yes, Beatrice, a very good afternoon to all our listeners. So I have been to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital as well as Mamprobi Hospital, and all these two places we observed that there hasn't been the presence of any nurse there. At the Kolebu, we engaged with one lady, Alima, who brought her son to the ENT unit, and apparently they got there around 5 a.m., but unfortunately they only got looked after, and then everything checked between 10 thereabouts, and that has dragged. And they said their time a lot. She was complaining, and she also said that the doctors were the ones shuffling between what originally the nurses were supposed to be doing, which is giving of files to patients, and the others, even taking the vitals. The nurses are supposed to be doing that critically, but because they are not present at their posts as at now, there hasn't been any vital checks for any of the patients who come to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And so we are trying to, I also moved to the Mamprobi Teaching Hospital, or the Mamprobi Hospital, sorry, and I spoke to some of the mothers who were bringing their children for weighing. And for them, they have to literally return back home because they said there hasn't been any presence of the nurses there, and it's rather unfortunate. There was one particular lady who has a 5-month-old child, and they were supposed to give the child, I think, one of the vaccines, but because the nurses are not around, that means that she also has to go home and later in the course of the week. So that is what is happening. It looks like a very frustration picture when you visit some of these hospitals who engaging with the patients. They kept mentioning that there haven't been any of the nurses there to check them, and some would have to wait for longer hours because the doctors are shuffling between what they originally do at the hospitals as well as doing the work of the nurses as well. And so this is really what is happening.
Quite a dire situation there in health facilities across the country. Thank you very much, Safo Abuahini, for bringing us the latest from health facilities in Accra. And we still stay on health-related issues because Ghana has confirmed 34 new cases of Mpox, bringing the total number of recorded cases in the country to 79. 4 persons are on admission and under observation while contact tracing continues. The current trends in the increase in cases have heightened concerns within the populace, but authorities maintain that there is no cause for alarm. The Ghana Health Service says that more than 10 regions have reported cases, prompting heightened surveillance across the country. Let's get on the phone lines and engage Chief Superintendent Dr. Frank Dodu. He's the public health physician specialist and also head of public health at the police hospital. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Doc, our numbers are increasing. Would you still say that there's no cause for alarm?
Yeah, certainly. Certainly, there's no cause for alarm. You see, in any of these public health emergencies, the numbers merely increasing is not an indication of alarm. Sometimes it's just indication that we are looking out for these cases, and it means that we have a very effective system for detection, early detection. So yes, it's good we're seeing them, but the positive aspect of seeing all of these cases too is that the interventions that we're putting in place to help minimize the burden of the disease for the affected persons is also effectively working. So yes, there's no cause for alarm.
Nonetheless, the current trends of spread, we understand, have heightened surveillance. Are you able to tell us what we need to know about the trends currently?
Yes, so at the last count, according to the Ghana Health Service Public Health Division, which was 17th June, we have 79 confirmed cases, all the cases cumulative, out of which some have actually recovered. Okay, so since we started counting from the beginning of this year, 79. And from the last update, which was the last Sunday before the current one, I think 31st May. Till now, we have recorded some new cases also. Okay, so about 24 cases were recorded recently. And like I said, it's just because that we have a very effective system for early detection and a good surveillance system also. The other thing that I should even add also is that of the cases that we consider suspected cases among the contacts, so people that we are thinking have had contact with the confirmed cases, just a few of them really have turned out to be positive cases or confirmed cases. Okay, so far out of about 118 contacts that have been identified and followed, okay, just how many? 3 have become cases. So the numbers are good if you look at the statistics, but even on the ground in reality too, we think that whatever measures that have been put in place is really helping us control. The only thing is that we wish we could do a bit more also among the populace, because if you gauge what is being done by individuals with respect to the control measures, it's as if not so many people are paying so much attention to what is being recommended. And those are some of the things that we want to encourage people to take note of.
And finally, from you, how far would you say our engagement with partners for vaccines?
All right. So, you see, the issue about the vaccines, last time I mentioned it, when they come in, they will be helpful to us in our response. But most of this have to be done at the level of government to government and then official, the technical committee. So I'm sure the technical committee will be working on that, and then they'll give us updates as and when they've confirmed any arrangement through the bilateral partners that we have.
Wended here, Chief Superintendent Dr. Frank Dodu is a public health physician specialist and also head of public health at the police hospital. Some 19 minutes past the hour of 12. When we come back, we'll tell you why lawyers for the CEO of the GIIF as well as Professor Christopher Amia-Kofi are asking for variations in their bail conditions. Don't go away.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bill's Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Freezer, yeah, diaba. Adama for diaba. Hey, freezer. Adama, akuafo semenhia. Adama. Metimoso, ma sorry. Kanino, obo mo ase a. Adu frefre no bia mienu miensa na se nan. After what we diabase. Adama for aduna akuafo ho hu se. Ye de aduro ba kope. E be chifu ye bia. Hi, technology. Akofo freezer ba. Wenku a. Eno want to be 15 latest. No hwegum, what ya no hwegum. O de basia, fu ye bia no basia bio. E ko ti se, obeti mo no. Ne mo ye sure se, o mention tasie. Ne mo se na for na no a freezer. O mpa we na apade. Freezer.
Basia, e be so do so amang. Amoni age.
O mo ti na me wo sika. O mo ti na me di me nyina du ba bi so mo do mbu. Adama, o that Adama no kuya. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for edwe bi wo baby biara ye ton kraye ho edwu. Afi kayo ne kenkan enchoya ewo edre ho.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Thank you so much for staying. Lawyers for Solomon Asamoah, former CEO of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, GIIF, and Professor Christopher Amia-Kofi, its board chair, have requested the High Court to modify their client's bail conditions, particularly the requirement to report to investigators. The two face multiple charges, including willfully causing financial loss to the state and intentional dissipation of public funds linked to the failed $2 million Accra SkyTrain project. Both have pleaded not guilty and were granted bail. Asamoah at 15 million Ghana cedis with two sureties and a Kofi at 10 million Ghana cedis with two sureties. Lord Edward Sari is our court affairs correspondent. He joins us live on the phone. Lord, what more can you report?
Well, Beatrice, so you'd recall that at the last agenda, the former board chair, Professor Christopher Amia-Kofi, was granted a 10 million CD bill with two sureties to be justified. Now, part of the bail conditions involved him reporting to the police once every week. Now, prior to that, the former chief executive of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, Solomon Asamoah, being the first accused person, he had also been granted a bill of 15 million Ghana cedis with two sureties to be justified and then to report to the police investigators 3 times a week. So in court today, we're expecting the case management conference, but when the case was called, lawyers of both Solomon Asamoah and then Professor Kofi notified the court that they had been served with the disclosures by the prosecution, but they hinted that the disclosures were very voluminous, and so they prayed for more time to go through the disclosures as well as the witness statement that had been filed by the prosecution. Additionally, and this is where it got interesting, they made an oral prayer to the court for the bail conditions to be varied, for their clients to be varied. Now, the bail conditions didn't have to do with the sum, but the number of times that both Professor Amia-Kofi and then Solomon Asamoah are supposed to report to the police. I indicated earlier that Solomon Sama is supposed to report to the police 3 times a week, while Professor Kumfe is supposed to go once a week. And so they made an oral prayer for this bail condition to be varied. Now, the presiding judge in the matter, Comforter Siame, asked the lawyers to file the application to vary this bail condition, apart from the fact that they made the oral plead to the court. They asked them to file it written, right? And so after doing that, she adjourned the case to June 24, giving them ample time to go through the disclosures and then file any other objections or otherwise to what the prosecution has filed. So we're back on June 24, and when do be expected to file the application to vary the bail conditions, and then by written we'll know how far the disclosures have been. So when we are back on 24th, then we'll have the case management conference. Then Beatrice, there was also a second case I went for that had to do with Charles Bishi. You recall that he's in court, he's been taken to court by the Office of the Special Prosecutor regarding the Galamsey issue during his tenure as the Secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining.
Exactly.
And again, you recall that in that case, the first accused in the matter, he has been convicted on his own plea after agreeing with getting a plea deal from the prosecution. So in court, we were expecting the case management conference, only to find out that Charles Bichu, the second accused, he has changed his lawyer. So the lawyer who was initially leading his charge was Kofi Osubuateng, but he has changed him to Augustine Obo. And so the lawyer who has now taken over Charles Bichu's case asked the court for more time to peruse the disclosures that have been filed by the prosecution. And so in that regard to the presiding judge, so it was still in the same court as that of the Sky Tribune. And so the same judge heard the matter. She has also adjourned that case to June 16 for the actual case management conference review.
Thank you very much, Lord Edwasare. He's our court affairs correspondent. Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, has announced that Parliament is set to begin drafting legislation to support lifestyle audits for individuals suspected of amassing unexplained wealth, marking a significant step toward enhancing Ghana's fight against corruption. The Speaker, who engaged key anti-corruption and accountability institutions in Parliament on Monday, said the House is ready to legislate a Lifestyle Audit Act to end the abuse of state resources by individuals appointed into privileged positions in society. Let's speak briefly to the AU Advisory Board against a member of the AU Advisory Board against corruption and also co-chair Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senanu. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let me get your initial reaction to the Speaker's announcement of a legislation on lifestyle audit.
It's an excellent proposal and outcome. As some of you may be aware, we did a review of Ghana last week. And one of the issues that came up is that we don't have a clear-cut lifestyle auditing law in place at the moment. And so it's very gratifying to note that a week after, Parliament is already considering the likelihood of passing such a law. So it's an excellent decision by the Speaker.
You say this is excellent, but how significant is this in the broader context of Ghana's anti-corruption fight?
It is because we have a lot of situations of unexplained wealth. The terminologies we use is unexplained wealth, illicit enrichment, which you want to be able to establish that an individual's income and assets are attributable to the remuneration they have received legitimately. Any resources, any assets beyond that is likely to have come from some criminal sources, including money laundering and what have you. And so to that extent, not having a specific law that empowers anti-graft agencies to insist or to trigger an audit to establish whether the resources being spent are monies legitimately earned or not. It's a gap. So in terms of the assessment, Article 14 of the AUCPCC requires member states to have this kind of law in place. In fact, the whole convention is about laws countries must have in place in order to make their fight against corruption effective. And this is one of the areas where we have a gap, and so it's important that it is filled.
Let me ask you two questions in one. What kind of or key component do you think must be included in a lifestyle audit, and really how you think this whole legislation must be designed to ensure neutrality and fairness in its application?
Well, first of all, so far, if you look at our constitution and the way we've approached this, we've looked at public sector officers rather than both public and private. So you can have public sector officers, as it were, engaged in graft, and then they will, push the money into family and friends outside the sector. So the law should cover both lifestyle audits in the private sector and the public sector, so that it's all encompassing. And then again, it should not be limited to one anti-graft institution. At the moment, we have something within the YOCO law that allows them to follow up on such issues. But then the question is this: if YOCO has a strong relationship in terms of the leadership with government, if government of the day appoints its leaders, and then YOCO does not want to act, as happened in the case of Cecilia Dapa, the law will still be there, but the institution that has been mandated by a law would then say we will not act. So let's make this a broad-based law that allows any anti-graft institution to be able to take up the issue and say, look, we think there is merit in doing an investigation and establishing whether this person is living within their means or beyond their means.
Mr. Senanu, thank you so much for speaking to us.
And thank you for having me.
And you had there Adam Senanu, co-chair Citizens Movement Against Corruption, also a member of the AU Advisory Board on Anti-Corruption. Thank you very much for talking to us. Log on to 3news.com for more news. My name is Beatrice Adu. Coming up shortly is Business Daily with Bismarck Awusa.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Awusa. Coming up this afternoon, Ghana set to miss cocoa production target for 2024-2025 season as Cocoa Board projects lower output amid 33 billion cedis debt burden. We'll bring you details. Also, money in circulation surged over 60% to 71.6 billion cedis in 2024, but analysts question link to inflation amid Ghana's declining price trends. And Ghana pushes for African Growth and Opportunity Act AGWA renewal in high-level